What is good, Tsla family? It's Ray J back with another video. In this one, I wanted to break down what's going on with Tesla, SPY, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple more tickers. Let me first say that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link. The offer ends very soon. If you deposit $100, you're guaranteed up to 5 free stocks. Put in $1,000 and you're guaranteed up to 15 free stocks. Anyways, guys, I had a big issue today that happened, which is why I'm very late. So basically, I used to be using a different PC, but my PC ended up breaking, so I have to repair it later on. And since then, I've been actually using a little HP laptop. The issue is the laptop had this software update. It just spontaneously happened, and it took about 40 minutes for this thing to just update. It was just spontaneous, and I'm extremely late because of that. It took forever to get this thing to update. It happened out of nowhere. And then with this update, I'm very late, so I'm going to try to make this video as fast as possible. Once again, guys, I do apologize for this. So what's going on with Tesla? It's tanking very hard. We'll be watching these supports. But let me first say that American Airlines had its earnings. It beat on EPS and revenue and had strong guidance. We had ups and downs for that NASDAQ and the S&P 500. Very mixed stuff. They are trying to push right now, but you're going to be watching some key resistance. Tesla was down 8%. We had the fourth quarter revenue and profit. They missed on those, not to mention the fact that their volume growth in 2024, may be notably lower than last year's growth rate. That's according to reports. Not a great piece of news for them. Wall Street economists think the U.S. economy could be looking more pronounced. We have some GDP numbers. They're actually better than expected. So I'll be talking more about those in just a minute. Besides that, I went over the airline earnings, and then Comcast beat expectations for revenue and profit. Guidance was kind of mixed, but not too bad. So good for them. Now, on top of this, I just want to mention that for earnings, we had the airlines today in the morning. We had a lot of beats, some mixed here and there. After market close, we have Intel and Visa announcing their earnings. And then for economic data for today, we basically had the GDP growth rate better than expectations. We had the building permits very close to expectations. GDP prices were technically a little bit lower than what the expectation was, which is actually good for inflation, if anything, and that's good for the Fed's policy. So decent data so far. And then initial jobless claims was above expectations. That's decent overall. And besides that, we have new home sales coming out at 10 a.m. The Kansas Fed Composite Index and Manufacturing Index at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Then just a bunch of bill auctions later on. But at 10, watch new home sales. At 11, watch the Fed Composite Index. And that's pretty much it for data. Most of the data for the rest of the day is very, very minor. With that being said, let's talk about Tesla and how it's looking. Tesla's selling off very, very aggressively. Watch and see if it rebounds a little bit upon open. Let's see if some buyers try to defend it before it continues lower. If we continue to lose this 190 spread, it's going to be critical support for it. Whereas there's a risk of it coming all the way down to 184 to 185. And if we lose that, it could be coming all the way down towards not just 178, but even 175 later on. A bigger drop is a possibility if we lose some key supports. So you want to be very careful on Tesla. Here are some levels just to be watching for, just to be safe. But right as I said that, you could see some buyers are trying to defend Tesla a bit in this 190 area. It might rebound a tiny bit, trade sideways for some time, and eventually break down a little bit lower. So watch it very, very carefully. If anything, Tesla has been, smacked very, very hard. Earnings were not the best. Red guidance was not that strong. So be very careful with Tesla. Look for a little rebound, some sideways price action. Watch resistance at 190, 194 to 195, and then 200. Watch support at 188. If we lose that, our next target is going to be 184 to 185. All right. Might rebound, chomp a bit in this 190 range, and we could start sinking lower. So be very careful. There's a lot of aggressive selling on Tesla. Earnings were not the best, so be very careful. As far as SPY goes, I said yesterday it's going to likely rebound with the GDP numbers. That's what happened right here. We rejected very close to 488. So watch and see SPY here. If we're bullish, you want to break 488, then the highs up here from yesterday. If we do so, our next target is 490. If we reject near 488, we're going to be coming back down to 486, in my opinion. So watch and see how we open. Do we get this rejection and come back down, or do we end up breaking the high up here? Watch that very carefully. It is looking like it might reject, but just to be safe, wait for market open. On the QQQ, watch basically very close to 428 right now. If we're bullish, you want to break the high in the 429s. If we do so, we could be easily pushing into the 431 plus area. If we're bearish, you want to see it reject very close to 428 to 429, reject and come back down towards the 426s, right? So watch this resistance right here, 428 to 429 up here. Do we reject and come back down, or do we break out? My gut tells me it might reject here, so just be a little bit careful, especially thanks to Tesla. Nvidia is trying to push up. Nvidia is attempting to push back. It might test the high again at 628 to 630. Might get very close, but it's actually fighting 625. So watch the 625 area. We could push a little bit higher, then reject, in my opinion. Might retrace to 616, fill this gap, then push back up and trade sideways. But we might, excuse me, guys, apologize. 625 is resistance, 628 to 630. Watch those levels and see if Nvidia rejects, comes back down, then pushes back up and trades sideways from there. We have this gap to fill down below, so be a little bit careful with Nvidia. Might push at first, might attempt to push, but watch those resistance levels. It could still reject, so you want to be very careful on Nvidia. For Apple, you're going to be watching resistance at 195. If we break this, is 195.7, and the highs from yesterday. If we break the highs from yesterday, 197.5 is our target. If you reject off 195, watch it come down to 194.4. If that fails us, our next target is 193.5. What is Apple doing? It rejects off 195 so far, so we'll have to see if that ends up being the case. But with that being said, guys, I apologize if it sounds like I'm rushing, trying to get as much done as possible. So the market's about to open. So have a great day. Remain calm, cool, and collected, and watch the supports I called out. Thank you for listening. Remain calm, cool, and collected, and peace out.